Okay, everyone, I just wanted to show you a walkthrough of the week 2 assignment so you had an idea of what this would look like. And so I started with just a text document, the text that we're going to have in here. I didn't think you needed to watch me type, but the first step is to do a save as and name the file. So we'll do the file and we'll click save as, and we'll browse around and find a place to save this. And I'm going to call it the week 2 assignment video. You're going to save it with your last name and first name, so get past that. Okay, so now we're going to walk through all the different steps. So the first thing is to change the layout. And so we go to the Layout tab, and you're supposed to change it to the Landscape Layout. And also, I'm not sure why that's not doing that. There we go. Just took a little longer. You're going to change the margins to, excuse me, having a problem here, to narrow margins. And then the next step is on the program title. We're going to change that. So let's go up here to the title. I'm going to select it, and what I want to do is to change the style to strong. So I'm going to click on the Styles menu. It's going to pop up this list, and when that pops up, I can choose from the list, and it's popping up unfortunately on my other screen. Let me see if I can drag it over here. Yeah, there we go. So I want to choose strong, and we'll close that. We're also supposed to make that size 18, so we'll choose that, and we want align at center. So paragraph group is where you find the alignment tools, and we're going to align that center. So we've made several changes here, and we're working our way through the assignment. So now we've created this second line here as a heading, and there's some things we're supposed to do to that. So I'm going to select it, and that is supposed to be made size 14, so we'll choose 14 from the pull-down list, and we're supposed to make it italics, so click on the italics button in the font. And the next piece is these 3 reasons. Notice I'm selecting them again. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to click on the paragraph mark to turn on the non-printing characters, because I typically work with those always showing, and that helps me see what's happening on screen and why things are happening a certain way. So this is supposed to be formatted as an unnumbered bullet list. So up here in the paragraph group, we have several options here, and we have a bullet option, and then we have a number option. And if you click on those, you see a lot of different variations that you can apply. And so we're going to go with the bullet list, and you can choose any of these that appeal to you. I'm going to stick with just the dots, and so you see it formats that all for you. And then we're supposed to change that to a different font. So we're going to go up here and pick that font, which is Cooper Black. Now I've used it recently, so it's up here in this recently used fonts, but it's also in the alphabetical list. If you scroll down far enough, you can find it. So we've now changed that to the Cooper Black font. And then we've added a subtitle here. What is a medical billing and coding specialist? And something I'm going to do here is turn on the Grammarly. This is an add-in, An add-in is kind of like a plug-in for a web browser, except an add-in is for the Office products, and the Grammarly add-in has been installed already on my machine, so it's showing up here, but it's not working right now. So if I turn it on, it provides better grammar checking than what the Word application does without it. So you see some things over here that suggest fixing, and it's got underlines, and the underlines are spelling things and the green are grammar. So you can fix these just simply by clicking over here, and it accepts that. And so it spotted all these things that Word had not flagged until I turned Grammarly on. So I'm going to just go through here and accept these things to clear out the error notifications. It's a little hard to see this. There we go. So now we've cleaned up the grammar errors. I'm gonna turn that off again just to get it out of the way so you see more of the screen. And so we've put in okay, so here's a grammar error that Word is marked, and if you right click on that, you'll see usually, yes, a suggestion. So you see up here in bold it says call in with a dash, and that's the fix. So if you just click on it, it replaces the error it had marked with the replacement, the correct option that you chose. So we're going to change the sentence here to size 16. So again, we'll go back to the Home tab and we choose the font size 16. So that was pretty easy to do. And we've put in the paragraph here, and we've gotten the grammar cleaned up on that. These brown lines indicate a suggestion. Often those are for passive language, where it's a passive rather than a more active statement. And a passive statement is not bad, but if your paragraph is full of them, you might want to change some of them at least to active statements that are just a little more positive. So the last thing was to change this paragraph to size 12. So what we're going to do is select the paragraph by clicking and dragging, and go up here and change the font size to 12. Now you can type any other font size in this box that you'd like. So you have the pull down list and you can pick from that, but you can pick something that's not on the list, just type it in, and it will do that for you. Alright, so we're making progress through the assignment here, and now we're going to use the replace. So this is in the editing group, and there's a find, which will find any particular thing you'd like to search for, but there's a replace, which does more. So with replace, opens a dialog box, and it asks you what do you want to replace. So we're going to replace the word medical with the word healthcare. And there's options to replace one at a time. And so it'll just step through the document. Each time it finds the word medical, it will make a substitution or ask if you want to make a substitution. But I'd like to just do it all at once. So I'm going to click Replace All. And so it tells me that there are 7 replacements made in the document. And I'm done with that, so I'm going to close it. And so now instead of medical billing and coding, it's healthcare billing and coding specialist. This is a handy feature for a lot of different reasons. You can use this when you find out that there's maybe a proper word that's not flagged by the spelling checker that's wrong throughout the document. I use it for a lot of data cleanup, moving between Word and Excel. But that's another topic. We don't want to get into that today. So let's move on here. We've got the replace done, and then supposed to insert a quotation, and I do not have that right handy, so I'm going to just pretend, and I'm going to put in this is the quotation to be inserted. And since it's a quote, we would want to put a citation in to credit the source. And so what we're going to do is there is a web page that has, copying here, there's this web page, which is the publisher's website and a particular journal article that the quote that would normally be put in here according to your directions came from. So I'm just putting that in to show you. So if I went to that web page, on that page I would find things like the title of the article, the journal it was published in, the date it was published, the author's names, and that's the stuff I'd want to put into the source manager. So if we go to the References tab, we see up here Manage Sources. And if we open Manage Sources, we see the master list, which is all the sources I have used in any of my previous papers, and then we have the current list, which is for this document. So if I wanted to add a new source, I would just click New, and that brings up this dialog box, and you have a lot of choices here as to what kind of a source you're using that you want to add. So I'm going to use document from a website, and so what that, as you change these, it changes the fields that you're going to see here in the form. And when you click in the form fields, there's an example down here at the bottom showing you how this should be entered. And so you see those as you go down here. Now, since I've already done this one, I've used it before, I'm simply going to move it over. And so now I have the source, and if we look at the source, you can see that we have the authors filled in, we have the title of the article, the journal. There could be a URL. There should be a URL, actually. Yes, a URL down there. And the reason it wasn't showing is it's marked as a type of source as journal article. If I move this down to website, now the URL is going to be in there. So you want this information. So it's all fine. We're not going to add that. So we want to put a citation in right after our quote. All right, so I'm going to get rid of this website. Okay, and I want to insert a citation. So all I do is go up here and I have my list of sources, and I pick the correct one and it inserts the citation for me. So this is a benefit of using this. If we go back to the Manage Sources, you see now that there's a check mark indicating that I have cited that source. So one of the rules of APA is that if you list a source, you have to cite it. So you want to make sure you've cited all your sources. And if you have one that you thought you might use and decide not to, then you can, move it over here to your master list, but not have it in the current list. So, so that's that part of filling in the citation, the source manager, and doing that part. So now we've gotten the citation, and the next thing is at the bottom of our document we want to insert the bibliography. So now we go to the bibliography pull down, and we're going to use works cited, and when we click that, Word will put in the entire description of the source in the proper APA format. So you notice that the journal title is in italics, and we have the authors with last name, first initial. And if you have more than one source, they'll all be listed alphabetically in this list. So that's a one-click addition. So so that finishes up the citation and bibliography. So now we're going to add a clipart. I'm going to put the clipart up here. And so when you're adding something like that, it's going to be on the Insert tab. And we're going to use an online picture. Grab a picture here, and we'll just search here for, let's go for nurses. And so this gives us a whole bunch of pictures. And what we'll do is check one, and then click Insert. And it's going to put that picture in for us. Now, this little icon appears when you select the picture, and this determines how the text on the page behaves in relation to the picture. And when it's in line with the text, the picture acts like one of these returns. So that's the only place it can be, is aligned the same way, and you can't move it around much. So if you put text wrapping, and square is probably a good choice for many things. It's a problem if it's behind or in front of the text in most cases, or you don't want the text overlapping the picture in most cases. So square is a good way for the text to wrap. So now as I move this around, you see the text wraps around the picture. So it makes it possible to move the picture and reposition it. It also means that the text wraps around it nicely. Now, I want to get my works cited down below, so I'm going to add some returns and move the works cited down there. And then I want to also show you that these handles that appear on the corners will do some things. So the ones in the middle will distort the picture if you use those. I'm going to undo that, and the ones on the corner, however, will make the picture smaller or bigger depending on which direction you drag them, and they will not distort it. So generally that's the one you want to use, as a corner handle to resize the picture. This handle at the top allows you to angle the picture. So now we have our image, and we have the text wrap set the way we'd like it. And then we have to add a shape. And to do a shape, we're going to again go to the Insert menu, and we're going to choose from our shapes. And you have this giant list of shapes of different kinds. So I'm going to pick a rounded rectangle. And so what happens is the cursor turns into this plus, and so you click and drag to create your shape. And then you can type to put labels, a label or text in the shape, and you can make adjustments to that. I can select it, and I can increase the font size, all kinds of stuff. And the shape has the same issues. It has the layout options, and see, this one came up in front of the text. Again, I want to make it square so the text moves around it. The handles, again, change the shape. These are a little bit more flexible, so you can, and if you grab the shape in the middle or on the border, you see the cursor turn into that double arrow. You can drag the shape around. Okay, so we got that. Now the last, let's see, I don't like where that's sitting. I'm going to move it up here. The last thing in the assignment is to add a footer. So there's two ways to get to the footer. And the easy way is to double click in the bottom of the page. And when you do that, you see the footer border come up, and you're in the footer, and you're also able to edit the header, but you can't edit the page while you're in the business of editing the footer. So again, this is supposed to be put your last name, first name, word assignment, and then when you're all done with that, you can either close the header up here, or you can double click back in the body of the document, and now you're back in the body, and you see that the footer is there, but it's grayed out because you can't edit it unless you open that editor again. So I think we're finished.